In the last session, we discussed how important it is to spend time in solitude, and also how important it is to remove the bondages from its root. We would continue the same point further. Rishi Narad says, Lokabandham unmulayati. Whatever in the world is creating bondage, which comes on your way to know the truth, you must remove it from the bondage, from the root. Take it off from the root. Why? If we don't remove it from the root, it can linger on and come back to us again and again. So, cutting it out at the weed level is not enough. We need to cut it out from the root level so that it doesn't stem forth further. That's very, very important. I heard a very beautiful story. It's about one of a very poor farmer. This poor farmer, in a cold season, someone gifted him a new shawl. He took the shawl and he was very happy that he got a new shawl. When it was winter, he could cover himself well. On the same day in his town, Gautam Buddha visited. And Buddha was talking, sitting under a tree with a lot of disciples. And this farmer, who was a poor man, landless laborer, works for wages, went there to listen to Buddha. Into the talk, everyone went and gave something to Buddha. That's our tradition. In our culture, when we receive something from the teacher, we once again give back something, and that is called Guru Dakshana. So this boy, everyone who was listening to Buddha went around and wanted to give something, and they were giving whatever they can. And this farmer did not have anything with him except that shawl which he received in the morning, a new shawl. So one part of his mind said, get up, go give the shawl to Buddha. And another part of the mind said, I'm a poor man, I don't have much. Maybe someone else will give a shawl to Buddha anyway, why should I give this? But then again his mind said, Buddha has got so many disciples who are following him. They are also traveling place to place. A shawl for them would be more useful because they may come across more colder places. So Buddha may give it to his disciples. And anyway, I benefited from his lecture. I want to give. Again, the mind, another part of his mind said, no, it's okay. You have only one. Someone else, a rich man, may give something to Buddha more. So it's okay. And when this kind of a conflict was going on in the mind, whether to give or not to give or not to give, this kind of a conflict which was going on, at that time, Gautam Buddha turned and saw him. The moment Buddha's eyes fell on him, the moment he saw him, at that very moment something stirred in him. Immediately he took the shawl, went straight to Gautam Buddha, placed it at his feet, and he said, Oh Master, thank you so much. This is what I would like to give you for the wonderful knowledge you gave me. Thank you very much. He said that and he walked out. One glimpse of the higher can change everything. In the Gita, Krishna says, Param Drishtva Nivartate. Even the old habits, the tastes which are there in the memory, all that disappear the moment we have a glimpse of the higher, Param Drishtva. Having glimpsed the higher, all other thing changes. Same thing happened to this man. He was sitting there, and the moment Buddha saw him, Buddha didn't do anything, he just smiled. The man got up, folded his shawl, left it at Buddha's feet and walked out. But when he walked out, he made a claim. He said, I have conquered it. I have conquered it. With all Josh, he was saying, I have conquered it with great enthusiasm. And the king was passing that side. When the king was passing that side, he saw, what is this poor farmer in my kingdom saying that I have conquered, I have conquered. So he stops him and says, what is that you have conquered? The farmer looks at the king and he says, Your Majesty, I have conquered desire. What? Desire? How? I had one shawl someone gave me in the morning, and after the lecture today I gave it to Buddha. So I have conquered desire. King smiled and said, it's nice that a young, poor farmer who doesn't have much with him is also willing to contribute something for a good cause. Naturally, the king was inspired, and king gave him his own shawl, a new one, saying, you keep this with you. I appreciate your action. This man said, this is for me. He said, yeah. The farmer took the shawl again, ran to Gautam Buddha, left it to him, saying, I give it back. I got another shawl today, and I'm very happy I can give you a second shawl. Buddha accepted it and called one of the disciples and said, take it, it may be helpful to you. And the farmer was returning, and the king saw him, that he ran and gave the shawl, because the king was also coming to meet Buddha only. So the king stopped at a distance and said, what happened? He said, the shawl you gave, I handed it over to Buddha. So I'm very happy that again I could give him for the second time. The king said, it's okay, I really appreciate what you do. I have brought a set of shawls for Buddha only. You keep this for you, and this I will go give it to him. He said, that's very nice. The third shawl we received, he ran once again to Buddha, left it at his feet, saying, oh Lord, I do not know how blessed I am that I am able to give you third time today. Buddha smiled, accepted it. The king saw and said, has he really conquered a desire? Has he really conquered a desire, or is he just doing? So the king took out his necklace and he said, this is for you as a gift. I see your commitment to charity. Keep this with you. This is really worth it, and your life can become much better. The necklace he took, straight went, left it at Buddha's feet, saying, I'm grateful to the Lord who is giving me so many things today, and now he gave me a necklace. I'm sure it will be more useful to you. You can probably sell it and then feed the whole group of people who are with you. So I'm very happy I can give this to you. Every time the king gave him something, he went back and gave it to Buddha. This is called conquering. This is called removing the desire from the root. At that one glimpse through satsang, he conquered attachment, he conquered ownership, he conquered desire. He could remove all that which was coming on his way from the root. We should also learn to do this. Whatever is coming on my way towards God, which is a bondage to the world, I must remove it from the root. Satsang can give us strength to remove it. Otherwise, the root can be very deep. I may not have enough strength to pull it out. So for me to pull that out, to take it off completely, I need to strengthen myself. Through satsang, I can strengthen myself, and then the roots of bondage of the world can be removed from the root, and that's how one becomes free. This is the fourth point. So the first point we had here, sangam tyajati. Second point, mahanubhavanu sevate. Third point, nirmamo bhavati. Fourth point, viviktasthanam sevate. Fifth point, lokabandham unmulayati. We have seen 5 points, and now we see the next point, and that is nistraigunyo bhavati. One should go beyond 3 gunas. Human mind has 3 characteristics. The entire thoughts which run in our mind are classified into these 3. They are called sattva, rajas, and tamas. Today the modern psychologists, psychiatrists, etc., they say around 60,000 thoughts run in our mind every day. Can you imagine the mind which we carry in the waking state of our life? Let's say 16, 18 hours of waking state, a person runs almost 60,000 thoughts every day. That's the flow of thoughts we have. These entire thoughts which are there in the mind are classified into 3, called sattva, rajas, and tamas. Tamas, is ignorance. Thoughts which are of ignorance, no knowledge. Lazy, lethargy. Ignorant, lethargy. Anything you want to do, postpone it, no sense of doing. Absolutely dull life. Without knowledge, lazy, dull life is tamasic. One section of the thoughts are like this. Second section of the thoughts are agitation, confusion, passion, greed. These are all rajas. Restlessness, they fall into the category called rajas. And then there is sattva, pure, noble, cheerful, alert, knowledge, wisdom. All this is sattva. Everyone has these three, tamas, rajas and sattva. For a wise person, tamas would be very minimum. Rajas would be also little less, sattva would be more. For a person of the world, successful in the world, sattva and rajas would be more, tamas would be less. For someone who is very dull, ignorant, complete failure, tamas could be more, rajas and sattva would be less. But all beings are made of these three gunas. We need to overcome these three gunas. So here Narada Rishi says, Nistraigunyo bhavati, he who goes beyond these three gunas. Why is it described that way? So that if I know I am in tamas, I should whip myself from tamas to rajas. How should I do? For a tamasic mind, even selfish goals are better. Tell them to take up to selfish goals, motivate them with the desire. Give them a better vision to live. So they get up from their tamas, start working hard. Incentives can push a tamasic mind to work, to come into rajas. A tamasic mind, once you show various incentives, can get motivated to activity. Tamas is ignorance, dull, lethargy, lazy, not acting, not performing. So once you show incentives, etc., one can shift. So whenever we know that one is in a tamasic state of mind, we should inspire them with activity. Even if it is selfish, it is okay. But one moves out of tamas. Then one is rajas. Rajoguna in the beginning can give wonderful results, but Rajoguna also has greed, selfishness. So what happens when greed and selfishness is there? The selfishness starts dominating and one goes on non-stop with selfish desires. But it is better from tamas, one has come to rajas. To this rajasic mind, we should give them direction. Let the rajas be sublimated through noble work. So one who is extremely rajasic should take up to sattvic work. Some selfless work. Apart from your rajasic qualities, rajoguna dominated activity, one must take up to some work which is selfless. And if one commits to that kind of a selfless work and goes on working selflessly, one transcends rajas. Then one comes to sattva. Knowledge is there, clarity is there, mind is very clear without any confusion, very pleasant and happy, noble in thinking, standard of life has gone very high. In tamas, there is no standard of life nor standard of living. In rajas, high standard of living but not high standard of life. In sattva, you have high standard of life, may not be living, but standard of life, which is more important. To us, a standard of life is more important than standard of living. Rajoguna will provide standard of living, but Sattva Guna would provide standard of life. That is very, very important. That way one moves from tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva, and when one is in sattvic state of mind, that is when one can meditate. A tamasic and a rajasic mind cannot meditate. Without meditation, to understand God is impossible. Through meditation, we transcend mind. So when a mind is fully tamasic and rajasic, prayer and meditation. Meditation is out of question. Prayer is possible, but meditation is out of question. One cannot sit quietly. So, whip up the tamasic mind through activity and push them into rajasic, where they are highly action oriented. To that highly active mind, let the mind continue to be active, but one part of that mind, let it commit to selfless work and slowly expand the selfless work. That way the rajasic mind comes to sattvic mind. When the mind comes to sattvic state, then one can sit for prayer, meditation basically. So what happens when one is in a sattvic state, one sits for meditation, one can meditate for long hours. Otherwise, one sits for meditation and all kinds of thoughts come. One sits for meditation and feels it's very hot, let me go put on the fan or put on the AC to make it cold bodily. Or one sits in the meditation and feels my throat is very dry, let me go take a glass of water. A few minutes of meditation, but the mind keeps putting all kinds of obstacles. Or you sit for meditation and start thinking of something else. You take the name of the Lord, and as you take the name of the Lord, mind escapes and goes elsewhere. It can go anywhere. The mind keeps going that way. So what is important here is, tamasic and rajasic mind cannot meditate. For meditation, one must come to sattvic state. So whip the tamasic mind through activity and transcend the rajasic mind through selfless activity, and slowly take up to study of the scriptures. This will get you to sattvic state. In sattvic state, one can sit and meditate. What should I do in meditation? Sit quietly and start witnessing your thoughts. Different kinds of thoughts run in your mind. Start witnessing them. You are sitting there and watching the thoughts. You are not thinking. Thoughts are running and you watch. When thoughts come, you should not get into the theme of the thoughts. A sattvic mind will watch the thought and not go into the theme of the thought. A rajasic mind, when it is meditating, a thought comes, it goes into the theme of the thought. So we should be very careful not to get into the theme of the thought. A sattvic mind will not get into the theme of the thought. What do you mean by theme of the thought? Let's say you're sitting and meditating. Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, and it could be anything associated. A name can come up. It can be a bookstall you visited. It could be a sweet stall you visited. It could be anything which you visited. A thought comes and you can say, no, move. I want to meditate. You will not get into the theme of the thought. Otherwise, if you get into the theme of the thought, that day in that stall, I went there to buy this, you're taking the name of the Lord, a thought came and you have got into the theme. I met my friend is always good, so-and-so is not fair on this person, it goes on. This is how it goes away. So we should be very careful not to get into the theme of the thought. A tamasic and rajasic mind will slip into the theme of the thought. A sattvic mind will watch it. Allow the thought to pass without getting into the theme of the thought. If this can be practiced, you go beyond sattva guna. Tamas, rajas and sattva. These three are the gunas. Narad says transcend all these three gunas. This is how one transcends. By watching the mind regularly from a sattvic state, we go beyond sattva guna. But that is meant for people who are meditating. In the seat of meditation, go beyond three gunas. Otherwise, what should one do? Try and be in sattva. Arjuna was told in the Gita by Krishna. Krishna tells him, hey Arjuna, go beyond three gunas, nistraigunyo bhava Arjuna, but when you have to move out and transact in the world, nitya sattvastaha, stay in sattvic state. So we should learn to be in sattvic state. What is sattvic state? Knowledge, wisdom, clarity, cheerfulness, happiness, mind calm, peaceful, no confusion, no agitation, no negativity. These are all sattvic state. With sattvic mind, we should transact in the world. In meditation, transcend sattva also. This way, one should go beyond three gunas. Traigunyo bhava. Here Narad Rishi says, go beyond three gunas. And this is the point number 6. We now go into the next point, which is Yogakshemam Tyajati. What occupies the human mind most of the time? If we see our own mind, what occupies? I need to acquire something. I need to preserve something. Acquiring, preserving occupies the mind. Mind is not available for anything else. You want to turn towards the Lord. Many people turn towards the Lord only to acquire more. Or what is acquired, preserve it. Only that people do. Our prayer itself is only that kind. In fact, in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna tells there are 4 types of devotees. Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu, Jnani. There are devotees who go to the Lord whenever they are distressed, otherwise no. Whenever they are in trouble, whenever they are distressed, disturbed in life, finding a lot of difficulties, they run to the Lord. There are others who go to the Lord for wealth, prosperity, progress, promotion, etc. And there are others who are just curious to know. They read every kind of a book which talks about the Lord. They are not seekers, but they are widely informed people. And then there is a 4th type of a person who is a seeker, who wants nothing from the Lord except the Lord. He is called Jnani. Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu, Jnani. 4 types. And Krishna says, Jnani is very dear to me because he wants nothing of the world, only the Lord. So this is very important. Many people go to the Lord only to acquire something or to preserve what they have acquired. So it is only this way, acquiring and preserving. What occupies the human mind is only these 2, acquiring and preserving, Yogakshemam. In the 9th chapter of the Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, hey Arjuna, what needs to be preserved and acquired, leave it to me, I'll take care. It's a beautiful verse which says, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, Ye Janaha Paryupasate, Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam, Yogakshemam Vahamyam. Yoga and Kshema, what is to be acquired, to be preserved, I will take care, says the Lord. How? When? Why would He take care? If we turn our mind towards the Lord, if you become a devotee of a Jnani, of the Jnani type, where the mind is towards the Lord and you want only the Lord, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. When the mind is turned towards the Lord and you seek only the Lord and nothing else from the Lord, then the Lord takes care of what needs to be given to you and what needs to be preserved. This is the major stress in us, what I have to acquire, what I need to preserve. And both acquiring and preserving is a stressful activity. And this stress drains away and it is a maximum occupation for the human mind. I'll give you one example. Swami Tapovan Maharaj, Guru of Swami Chinmayananda, was traveling in the Himalayas, and one day he reached a temple, a lonely temple on the way, and the next village is another 4 or 5 kilometers. It was dark, so he could not walk further. He stayed in the temple, sitting there alone. And when he was sitting in the temple, after some time, some highway robbers came. They also came into the temple. The temple was already ruined, so they also thought they'll take shelter there, and they stayed in the temple. When they stayed there, suddenly they saw in one corner Swami Tapovan Maharaj sitting quietly, and these thieves who have come noticed him. They went to him and said, what do you have? Do you have anything? He just gave his bag. They asked, and in the bag there was one set of clothes and just a book of Gita. So the thieves have nothing to take from him. They gave it back to him, and they were about to have dinner. They were about to have dinner, and one of them said, give him also some food. So they called Swami Tapovan Maharaj and said, did you eat anything? He said, no. And next village is you'll get up in the morning and go, would you like to have some food, which we have? And they gave him something and saying, please take. Swami Tapovan Maharaj says, oh Lord, do you have to take this form to come and take care of me? You took a form of a thief to come and take care of me and giving me my food. He is in a place where there is no food available and the next village is far away. He has to stay that night and go only next morning. What you need comes to you. What you need to acquire comes to you. So Swamiji was sitting quietly. These people gave food and his response was only that, "Oh Lord, you took this form to come and feed me." So a devotee need not worry about these two. What is to be acquired, what is to be preserved, leave that to the Lord. These two would be taken care. Narad says one should transcend yoga kshemam. More of this we will take up in the next session.